Welcome to New Business in Later Life, where we prove that it's never too late to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. You will meet remarkable individuals who launch successful businesses over 50, sharing their stories, challenges, and enthusiasm. Your host, Ildikó, is a former social housing professional, textile designer, and teacher who described herself as a life artist. She is now a property professional, business network host, and facilitator of the Entrepreneurs Club. Subscribe now to hear these inspiring stories every week.
Some people build networks. Today's guest has built a whole new community. Rob, the quietly brilliant founder of Your Partnerships that started in Cornwall and is rapidly growing nationwide, didn't set out to create a business network. On the contrary, he actually laughed at the idea, but he just loved connecting good people with other good people, and it all grew from there. His 25 years in the US military is the backdrop to Brock's story that is all about service, support, and the power of genuine connection. So let's hear it from Brock. Good afternoon, Brock. Welcome to New Business in Later Life.
Thank you. Seems weird being interviewed.
Okay, yeah, because you do interviews for your business.
It's cool. I'm more relaxed.
On that note, can you please tell us what is your newest business?
Well, newest business, which is an extension of the current business, is the Elite Club itself. I don't know if you expected me to throw that curveball to you, but I suppose I should explain a little bit more. So I know the premise of your talks is about people starting business later in life.
Yeah, so let me quickly get the question in. Yeah. How old were you when you set up your newest business?
It was only last year, so 59.
Okay, and then the newest business, the one that we
52.
52, so yeah.
Ran the network for 7 years, and then it's the first business is calls the second business to come along, if that makes sense.
So let's start with the first one.
Yeah. So first of all, I suppose, if it's okay, just a quick back chat of my life journey, if that makes sense, to how we got there.
Go on then.
Obviously, I'm in Cornwall. You can tell by my thick Cornish accent. That's the only joke I've got. As good as it gets. From Orlando, Florida originally, ended up in the States, ended up in the UK because met the wife while I was stationed in London, went back to the States, and last posting was done in Cornwall. So that's how I ended up in Cornwall. And then when I finished up with military life, ran hotels and resorts for a while. And then quite frankly, I'd finished all that, and I was just mind my own business, going to go just volunteer to charity, which I was doing with the Cornwall Air Ambulance. They just started doing it, and got approached by some people that said, we need a proactive network in Cornwall, because there was not that much going on at the time. Quite frankly, Ildikó, it didn't interest me at all.
The networking?
Yeah, networking. I was not, and you may not even know this, but no, I wasn't into networking at all when these guys approached me for this.
Okay.
But they wanted a network.
But you were out in the community, so you kind of put yourself out there.
It's weird because they identified me to be able to help do this by my skill set somehow, because it was nowhere on my radar. So anyway, it just got pitched to me that, if you'll help us, if you'll get a network going in Cornwall, we'll help you with that. And so the original plan, it was actually called Cornish Partnerships at first, because that's all it was supposed
just
to
local.
be. And the whole plan was, let's do 1 or 2 events in mid-Cornwall only. And then I told them, even at the time, we'll try that for a year. It's not going to work. And then we'll just quit, and then you can leave me alone. And that was the whole plan.
And the rest is history. But it's really funny to find out that people approached you, because I thought the story was that your wife told you to go and get a job.
What you're probably remembering is, and I do say this sometimes, that my wife loves what I do because, she married a Navy man.
Right.
So I'm not supposed to be at home. So when I stopped running hotels and all the Navy, and then when I was at home more often, you're right. That part was like, oh, wait a minute, what are you doing here?
Why are you under my feet all the time?
What's going on here? So that's part of the part you're remembering. So she quite enjoys that I stay busy still. So you're with partner, you're married as well, and it does keep it more interesting if you're not in each other's pocket all the time, doesn't it? I mean,
sorry, I'm in a different kind of group of them, because we want to do everything together.
Well, that's
to the point
fine.
where we really have to almost force ourselves to go our separate ways occasionally.
Okay.
Especially in business, especially as having one business that we are both in, we had to talk about it, that we can't it's not a good use of time to go to the same networking event or the same training event for both of us if we are in the same business, rather just one person and then the other one can get on with some other work.
Yeah.
So it's...
And each couple are different.
Absolutely.
Humans are different. Everybody's
Absolutely.
different. For my wife, at least, getting rid of me is a good thing.
Keeps the fire going.
That's it.
So you started off with Cornish partnership with, what was it, 2 or 3 networking events a month?
Yeah, 2. 2 was the plan, yeah. That stayed that way for about 4 or 5 months, if that.
And then it started growing.
Yeah, it started growing. The first jump was into Devon, of course. That was probably about 8 months in.
Okay,
So
fairly quickly.
Yeah, we actually had somebody come to a Cornish partnerships meeting and said, well, I really like this. Can we do that in Devon? I said, of course. So we actually had, for a short period of time, we had Cornish partnerships and then Devon partnerships.
So how did the name Your Partnerships came about?
Well, that's because after running both for just a short period of time, just put my first, team or board together. And we just sat and looked at it like, what do we really want to do? Because by then we're already getting knocked on the door by Somerset. And it's like, it was going to get too confusing.
Yes, probably.
And, it's like anything. There's different mindsets on it because we had a real divide of people's opinions on this at the time. Because, as you can imagine, some people really like local, to know that something's really theirs, their local thing and everything. And then others like to know that, I'm part of something that's bigger.
You were kind of the founding member, manager, owner. Or I don't know, how would you describe yourself as you were back then, even though you said that people
the
find
idiot
you...
that got talked into something? Oh, sorry, that's...
But what I want to get to is that obviously you are foreign. And what I mean by that is that you don't necessarily have the same kind of
same thought and ethos
rooted sort of nationalist or localist kind of mindset about it, but you were looking at it as a business, I imagine.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. The people that were more mindset of keep it to Cornish Partnership, for example, or this, they were definitely more
the locals.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And it'll still come up every now and then. Oh, you should have never done that. We liked this. But
as part of the little history, I've been involved with Your Partnerships for about 2.5 years or so, because I think I started networking sort of back end of summer 2022.
Yeah,
and
after COVID.
I'm almost certain that Your Partnerships was definitely the first networking event I went to, like a property one and a general one.
Yeah.
And in these 2.5 years, the network has literally exploded. So back at the time, I mean, you say that even Somerset was knocking on the door shortly after you set up. So obviously I came along about 4 and a bit years into the life of Your Partnerships. But at the time I could only see it as a Cornish and a Devonian kind of quite local, very far southwest.
By the time you came along, we were already in Somerset, even down in Dorset a little bit. And then I believe about the same time Bristol came on. So, and then into this month, as we're talking now, is when we go into the Midlands and start going
and then what was it, Leeds and some around London, Kent.
Yeah.
So suddenly, in these last couple of years, Your Partnerships has literally exploded. Well, it is a good setup.
You know this because it's easily accessible, because it is very, very cost effective. And then I think the other side that makes it a bit different is even though we have memberships, it's not mandatory memberships.
No.
So people can come as guests as well. So it keeps it easy for anyone to access, I guess, the best way. And no contracts. So therefore people can come.
People like that feeling of freedom, I would imagine. And I suppose I'm quite happy to admit that I was sort of dabbling in and out, come along when I can, and then as a guest.
Were you treated any differently? I mean,
no, not really. Yeah. Occasionally there would be things like, oh, you can have access to this if you are a member. Oh, okay, I'm not going to do that then because
it gets
I'm
a little
not.
bit confusing, yeah.
And then it took me a little while because obviously building a business, every single group and networking event and this and the other, you come across, it's only £30 a month. But every one of them is only £30 a month. And when you like 5, 6, 10 of them, that really adds up. So I took my time to decide which groups I wanted to be a member of. And a few months ago, I decided to be a member of Your Partnerships now.
And I'll say something, which I say all the time, and I don't, some people go, why do you say that? But it's the truth. And I think what you should do, or what anyone should do, stay in your partnerships for a while, and then go be in another one for a while, and then go be in another one for a while. I don't mind saying that because it's the honest truth. I'm not trying to build an empire or worried about where people spend their money.
By the sound of it, it's building itself, though.
It is, but to me, because what it goes back to is what you and I have already talked about. To me, what I'm passionate about is because if you think about me 9 years ago, what did I think of networking? I thought it was a waste of time. So my passion is to teach more people about why networking is important.
Yeah, when I met you, my goodness, so that's your whole being, is to connect people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, I've known you for nearly 3 years, and this is the first time I've heard that people approached you. I thought this was your idea to set up a little networking event because you were kind of bored.
That's why I get passionate about it, because I think about all the years I wasted not knowing that powerful tool was there.
Oh my goodness, I hear it. Because, I run my own networking event, which is a very different, it's a non-membership, non-charging, very social, once a month networking event for property and business people. And it's local to Plymouth and Exeter. But similarly, I mean, I actually started running it exactly the same way as you mentioned. Like, I went along to the Exeter one and thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. We need to have one of these in Plymouth. Next month, I approached them and said, oh, can I run it? And they said, yeah, sure. And then we worked on it and set it up. We've been going over a year. So it's absolutely fantastic. And yes, it is different.
You get so much out of it. It's just
and
nuts.
Connecting people is so much joy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is. That's what I do every day.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Lovely, yeah. Magic, isn't it?
That's why I'm not worried about the money side or the business side. It's just So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it says waking up every day looking to connect people. And that's all I do.
Yeah.
In fact, Shane Solomon, who owns the studio we're set in right now, I use a phrase he uses a lot of times as well, and I loved it first time I heard it. People said, "What do you do?" He said, "I make friends for a living."
Oh, how good. That's cool.
Yeah. So I've stolen that quite a bit as well. Because making friends, making connections, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
Really. It's just taking care of people. And, and as you know as much as I do, the more you help, the more help you'll get back. So it's... Because
you become the go-to person. Yeah. And that's exactly what people know you for. Is that you are the local connector person. Yeah, that's really cool.
It's all really cool, and the joy is so many things, because it's not the joy to me isn't building the network per se. It may sound strange, but it's seeing the growth of everybody. It's all I get in a strange way. It's kind of like being that teacher, isn't it? That loves watching their student. In a way, I'm not a teacher, don't get me wrong. You don't want to follow my example, that's for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, maybe some teachers and a lot of teachers could actually take a leaf out of your book. Yeah, it's creating that environment where people feel they can grow. And that's beautiful.
Turning the table on you a little bit. First time I met you, you were thinking about possibly buying something, and then finally, you listened to the journey. You bought it. Now you've done it. Now you've moved on to the next thing, and now you've got 3 more layers to your business. And that's just the beginning. I guarantee you.
A little over a year ago, I went to a conference. It was a 2-day conference with a lot of speakers, because the lady who runs the conference teaches people to speak. And all the way through, I was thinking, what could I be doing if I stood on that stage? And from that thought, sort of look at how far I've come in a year.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is down to that networking, where a friend in a local network told me about this conference. So then we went along, and then she actually is the same person who encouraged me to set up the networking event in Plymouth, and so on and so on. And it sort of, I sort of describe it as we get on that ramp, and we keep going up. And then we keep going up on that circular ramp, and then as we get higher and higher, there are different views along the way, and we meet different people, and we just keep going up, better our lives with all the things that we do.
Absolutely. One little saying I always say is, do the next right thing, and the next right thing will happen. And that's all you're doing. That's as simple as life is. As long as you stay in your lane and do what's right, then what could go wrong? You'll hit bumps, you'll hit obstacles, but there'll be negative influences outside of your jurisdiction or ability anyway, and that's negativity in life. But
life happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Your car gets backed into, so what? It's a car. It's just a car. It's a pain. It's a waste of time. It's having to take it to the body shops, everything that goes with it. But you know what? Let's put it in perspective. Your car gets backed into you lose a job, any of those things, right? But some people have terminal cancer. Let's look at priorities. Let's look at where, what really, really matters. And just get over bumps or bumps.
Sort of just hooking onto what you said about somebody losing a job. For me, that was the biggest, like the next door opening when I lost my job. That's the bottom line. I lost my job.
I'm unemployable.
At the time, obviously, it was a very unpleasant experience, but my goodness, did my life change dramatically from then onwards. The door that opened to my future was phenomenal.
Every door that closes is opportunity for a new door that opens.
I think it's that point since which I sort of truly believe.
I wrote this because my coach wrote something and just it triggered a memory of mine, one of my favorite sayings ever, because we all have different people that we love in history. And there's a guy that you may have never heard of before, but his name's Sam Walton. And Sam Walton is the creator of Walmart, which I'm sure you have.
Right, okay, yes.
Yep. And I just love this. They were doing an interview of Sam Walton. This was back in the recession, back in the early 80s and everything. A reporter asked Sam Walton, said, "Sam, what do you think of the recession?" And he said, "I don't think about the recession," which is, to me, such a great, powerful thing. It's like, why sit around and worry about, things or what's like what I said a while ago? It's outside my power. Yes, you need to, in business, adapt and change so that you survive. But you can't.
I'm surprised he's not quoted in the book called The Secret.
Yeah, should
because it's all about what you focus on comes back to you, and you're attracted. The classic one is when you think that I want to buy a red car, then all you see is red cars or that particular make. If he wasn't focusing on the recession, he was focusing on the business.
So be careful with The Secret and things like that, because that's also where people get in trouble. A husband and wife team, if all that he or she thinks about is, oh, my partner's going to have an affair, guess what's going to happen? Because you've put it out there too much. You've self-perpetualized it. So it can happen, but I'm just saying it.
One of my favorite books is The Compound Effect. Whatever you do, whether it's good or bad, it'll compound over time.
Absolutely.
So, it's whatever you focus on will come to you.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular routines in your life that help you in your business?
Well, I mean, one that I learned, I don't mind, I talk about this freely anyway. One of my 17 years sober now, okay? So I was at a very dark place at one point in my life. And part of learning about my journey along sobriety, one of the things that helped me the most, there's lots of things, but lots of different meditation, lots of different readings, I was going to say, of things around that particular situation itself. But meditation was going to get to, is one of the things that I've learned. And it's so funny with meditation because, at first it just seems impossible because it's so hard to do nothing. Well, at least for me, it's so hard to do nothing.
Well, meditating is far from doing nothing. You actually
that's what
concentrate your thoughts.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, is the first thought of meditation is doing nothing.
I'm really, really pleased to hear from you that your first routine that you mentioned is meditation. And I'm very pleased, without sounding sexist, that a man is telling me this, because a little bit of research that I've been doing in these past number of weeks in my sort of network and in training sessions, a lot of people do physical exercise and read books and stuff, but then when it comes to meditation and looking after mental health, then that really kind of dribbles away. And especially with men. Men are less likely, in my experience so far, asking people
We're a man,
about
we'll
meditating.
Fix it. We don't need that. Yes.
So thank you so much for bringing that up as your first thing.
No, thank you. And what I was going to say about the meditation is, that's where I was getting to about saying doing nothing. And you're right. It's not doing nothing. It's exactly the opposite. It's doing everything but focused is the best way to put it. And the other thing I'd say about it is, it's so hard at first to actively meditate. But what I found from my journey, not saying this should be for everyone, for my journey was just starting off very, very small. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3. And even now, my meditation will be different amounts, because it could be as much as, honestly, as much as an hour.
Oh, wow.
Down to 5 minutes if that's what I have to do for that day.
Can I ask how you go about it? So do you do guided meditation? Do you find people who do a practice and you follow it along? Or obviously you have to learn it somehow. So if you do it yourself, then
so I did go to some classes at first, but I only went to like 6 classes, that sort of thing. But then a lot of it was just reading and learning. And you understand, you meditate about learning at first, just focusing on, I mean, we're in the studio, I'm just looking at something. Could be that pink thing on the thing, just losing anything.
Pink tape on the floor, yes.
Pink tape. Losing anything and everything from the world around me, except for that at first. And just like you talk about physical exercise, is training the mind,
instead of the body, And some people find it very difficult that physical things are okay and tangible, but the mental health and the spiritual health side of things are not tangible, and people find it very difficult to link to it. The other thing that people sometimes mention when questioned...
The meditation bit came around probably at the right time in life, because back in military career, I used to run a lot. I was quite avid runner.
Yes, I suppose, you have to be fit.
And actually, the running at the time was probably my own form of meditation, but I didn't know it at the time.
Yes.
So, because you get that zone when you get to a certain amount. And I was never a marathon or anything like that. I'd always run 3 to 5 miles a day, 3 or 4 times a week, that sort of thing. But when you got in that zone, it was just really cool, because that's all you're thinking about is the next step, and everything goes with it. But actually, over the years, I've got a completely flat left foot. I've hyperextended this knee 3, 4 times. All
so you can't run
physical
anymore?
Things there. Yeah. So I think it was a transition, but it was obviously, as I said before, because of the addiction that got me started. But yeah, it's been the best things ever happened to me, to be honest with you. But that's the main part of my routine. The other part of my routine is just setting myself up for the day, which I do after my meditation, and that's just looking at what's happening. Obviously, most of my days, Monday through Friday, or there's going to be an event.
It's meeting with people.
And you got to remember I've never been a great sleeper, okay? And it nothing to do with what I do now. I've always gone to bed at the earliest 11, probably. It's usually about 11 to 11:30. Sometimes it could be as late as 12:30, but normally, most
so you've got a kind of a time.
Yeah, around 11:30. But I always wake up around 5, 6 at the latest.
Okay. Since you gave up drinking, has your sleep improved?
I would say yes, you're probably right. My sleep has probably improved. Because
or maybe the quality of it, if not the quantity of it.
And that wasn't sleeping, that was passing out. But But anyway, I don't know. It's just been my thing. I mean, lots of studies do say, different people, because number one, it's the deep sleep that counts. I mean, you could lay in a bed for 12 hours, but you may not get any more rest than somebody that slept 5 hours if it's the right type of sleep. So I think mine has always been a deeper sleep. And it's not that, even on a weekend, if I have nothing going on, I'm just going to wake up 5:36.
Oh yeah, and I don't even stop myself from waking up, because I like my morning routine so much that I actually respect it.
Yes.
So I don't allow myself too much of a lay-in at the weekend, because that just ruins the routine.
Oh, and do you ever? And for me, and it hardly ever happens, but just say rarely that for some reason I had nothing to happen and I slept till 7:38. Like I said, it's a very rarity. If I do that, I am tired all day. I'm exhausted
you can oversleep. But going back to your second routine, the sort of in the morning, you say that you go through what's going to happen in the day, even though it's probably from meeting to meeting. Yeah. Do you feel that fits into like your mental health management, where when you know what you're doing, it's good for your stress management?
It is, because if I took my phone out and showed you my this is just the way it worked for me. My calendar, everything's color coded.
Yeah, so is mine.
So if it's a phone call, it's one color. If it's an online meeting, it's another color. If it's an event, it's another color. If it's personal stuff, it's another color. All those things. Yeah. So what I used to be real bad at was putting too many meetings in. Okay. I've cut back to the amount of meetings I allow to come through my calendar link. When people are just getting a hold of you, I've cut that back significantly. And then what I have done, though, is I've left, so I don't get stressed about it. I have my last call, I want to say, on days that I can take calls, 3 o'clock, I think it is. So from around 3:30, 4 o'clock till 5, if it's not those are places I can put in if something important comes up. So, but going back to your original question, so to me, those colors they're just going to happen. They're just things. So yes, I'm going to be in a meeting. Yes, I'm going to be in a call. Those things. I look at the gaps and then think about, and I guess it's almost like a reward thing. Oh, I've got 30 minutes there. I'm going to go walk the dog, or I'm going to do whatever it is. You and I were talking earlier. I kind of like, just every now and then, I don't do it very often, but maybe once a month or maybe twice a month, probably once a month at the most. If I've got that gap, I'm going to put something stupid, mind-numbing on TV if I'm at home.
To switch you off. That's brilliant.
Just something cheesy and stupid. I mean, that's all I give myself, the half hour. But for me, it does two things. One, it is that switch off, as you said.
I love the way you put that. You know, a gap in your daily routine of work is actually a reward
like a treat.
to look after yourself.
Yeah.
And this is it. I think this is the most important part of having a good overall health routine, is that you are number one. If you don't look after yourself, you won't be there to run your business.
No, and I've had a switch and change this year. So far, it is only April as we're speaking now, but I was just eating too much bad things.
So all these networking events and lunches and everything.
Yeah, there's that plus the other thing, and then don't blame those, because what I was really bad at, my downfall. Okay, so it used to be alcohol, now it's chocolate. I haven't had one piece of chocolate since February now, so I should start a new surprise. I'm not going to never eat chocolate again, but I guess it'd almost be my sobriety of chocolate so far as February. And it's because where I get in such a bad habit is because I'm, as you say, always running around and meeting people. Obviously, a lot of times needing to refuel. What I would do is stop and go in there or in a different shop, and then love Cadbury. Sorry for putting unsolicited names on your podcast, but
maybe I'll call them up and see if they want to sponsor the podcast.
Cadbury. I'm one of this podcast is bad. Their stock have probably gone down since I've changed mine.
I wouldn't ask them, because it would be completely against my beliefs. Because I aim to be, if not sugar-free, but that's one of my things.
On that, this is how bad this was getting. I would 3 or 4 times a week stop and get a Cadbury bar, but not a Cadbury bar.
Well, like the big...
A Cadbury bar. and the problem is, just like anybody with addiction problems, I pop that puppy open and it's gone in 5-10 minutes.
I, funny enough, don't consider myself to have an addictive personality, but if it's in front of me and, as you say, open, then I find it very hard to resist. Although that's not necessarily strictly true, but it's like if I go to an event, I graze quite a bit, especially if there's a buffet, then I want to eat through everything. I want to try everything. It's a bit more like FOMO, I suppose.
Yeah.
My absolute power over it is in the shop, I look at the ingredients list, and if anything's got sugar content more than about 10 or 12%, depending on what it is, I just put it down to say, this is not good for me, and walk on.
Looking for those reds and yellows.
If it was at home, I couldn't resist it. So... Yeah, we all figure out our own defense system, don't we?
Yeah, that's been a shift change.
Well, congratulations for going practically chocolate free.
Yeah. Well,
do they do dark chocolate Cadbury's?
They do. But look. To me, it's chocolate.
You either have the one that you like or nothing at all.
Well, it's not just that. I'm gonna.
Anyway,
it's like when I stopped smoking, years and years. I only smoked for a short period of time. Really stupid I ever smoked. I remember back in the military, we had a mess night, and somebody had a cigar, and I smoked a cigar, and I thought, well, that's not really smoking. It's just a special occasion. Smoking a cigar is what I tricked myself.
But you tell yourself, isn't it? Yeah.
And where'd I find myself the next day? Walking to the shop. Oh, I like that. Go get a cigar. I had to stop. Like, no. Just going to start a new addiction. So that's why I won't have the dark chocolate, is what I'm trying to say, is because it's not it'll just become a new thing.
I think we touched on an interesting point here about, do you consider yourself having an addictive personality? And some people do say they do. But again, I think it's what you need to realize is what you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you keep telling yourself you have an addictive personality, then you're going to have your subconscious will make you find something to be addicted to. But if you actually knock yourself out of that mindset of making yourself believe something that doesn't have to be believed, then you can just have a normal life.
I know I have an addictive personality, and I know you don't say that, but my addiction is working. So I use that for my power, but I love it. You know, that's the thing. My wife's a workaholic as well, and we used to beat each other up. Why are you still? Now we've gone past that now, and don't get me wrong, we don't always work, but we've stopped throwing rocks at each other for working too long.
Fair enough, yeah. Just accepted that it's the way you are.
Yeah, it's the way we are. And but if you enjoy it,
that is what I was going to say. But you take joy from it, yes, absolutely. So then you're not necessarily working.
There's parts you don't like. There's always going to be some admin parts or something that you don't really like.
I do like a bit of admin.
Well, some people like. We all like different things.
Somehow my sort of nemesis seems to be social media. I don't even know why, because when I do it well. Yep. But then, I don't know, sometimes I just have a block. But hey, I need to get over it.
Is that because you don't like doing it, or you worried too much about being a perfectionist with it?
Yeah, probably it's my perfectionist nature a little bit. Although I must admit...
So I'm going to help you here. Sorry,
yeah,
it's your podcast, but there's two words in what you just said. Social and media.
Okay.
What's the first word?
Social.
It's being you.
Yeah, I know. And actually, maybe this is the thing, because I post when there is something going on or something interests me, and I love writing, and sometimes I do longer posts, and I love the thing that I write, but you can't necessarily maintain that all the time. Yeah. And I find it difficult to sort of come around the fact that, you know, especially as launching a mentoring business, I need to be out there. People need to know that I exist, that my service exists, what I do, how I do it, how I benefited from it, how I can help people. And I find it hard at the moment to maintain that regularity, and I don't want AI to take over, because I still want it to sound like me. And I think that's the little bit of vicious circle I'm finding myself in, that I don't just want to AI generate my posts. And if I don't have the time or the energy or that trigger that particular day or something to do a post, then I don't. And then that's when I don't do it the next day. There's a new habit of not doing it.
Yeah, true.
So anyway, I'm working on it at the moment.
But with the AI side of it, as I use AI quite a bit, but only what works for me anyway is just to give it just a little bit. Because we get a lot of all sorts of stuff, but literally I'll just a little bit, and then of course, what I personally do is I'll just, because it does give you good stuff. Don't get me wrong, because you'll do it all the time. You'll do, oh, I didn't think about that. And like,
yes,
I prefer the way that's worded. I wouldn't have said that, which is fine. But then I'll just copy and paste that and then change it up to make it. I mean, I know that's
make it back
nothing,
to yours.
Yeah, it's nothing new. I know everybody does it in principle, but it's a little. Is it time saving? That's the question. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
One of the best bits of training I've seen about AI is that it's 30% what you put in. So you need to give it good prompts and a good baseline. 40% what it gives you, but then it's another 30% of what you make of it, rather than just take it as it comes. Yeah. But a lot of it maybe even like a little bit more on prompts. And I am finding that as I'm learning to use it, indeed I'm finding it that the better the prompt, the better the questions. Can you ask me questions? I ask it, and then it comes back with questions where it's like, oh, I didn't actually think of that, or it makes me think further. Yeah.
So I know this is getting off subject a little bit, but I love this because of the AI thing.
Yeah, go on.
So we've got have you met Tia up in Exeter?
No.
So Tia, she's up in Exeter. She's a young lady who's a AI specialist. She's from the first class of getting a master's degree in AI.
Oh my word! I think I did meet her in the open.
You may have,
in Venice Space, yes.
So, but the thing is, oh yeah, you did. You did meet her. But I asked her this question that absolutely blew me away. Typical question that a lot of people of my age or any mature age would ask is, I said, oh, where do you see yourself? And I think I said like 3 years. I don't think I said 10 or anything. Like, oh, where do you see you and your business in 3 years? And it was like I'd held a gun to her head. The fear in her eyes were just like, because her brain was racing, because with the AI, what they know or kind of learn every day, she just literally had to stop and say, I can't even think past 3 months, because they just know how fast it's developing.
That's frightening.
I know it's frightening, but I could feel it. I mean, just her expression, right? And I asked those questions. She was like, I mean, you could just hear her. Oh, it's frightening and exciting. Now look, last part on this, and I know this is a pipe dream, but you know what I'd love to happen with AI? I would love for humans, and this isn't going to happen because it's too much of a lovely, fluffy Easter bunny moment, but I'd love for humans to take AI and let it do all the donkey work that humans been doing forever. And let's take that resource, that time, and even money and invest it back into humans. Let's put that time and effort into care, into education, into children, wouldn't that be wonderful if we as humans, something that we've created, because we have created AI.
Yes, but I think in some ways it's got to be happening, because if you listen carefully, it's not, so robots and AI are not really going to replace people as such. No. Businesses will go out of business who don't embrace it.
Will they go out of business, or will they rotate into something else?
Generations grow up, or I mean, undoubtedly there are people and there'll be generations who will suffer a little bit more, because when there is change and such fast change, the pivot needs to be fast, and some people are just not able to pivot quick enough. And maybe we are looking at it slightly differently, because we are in business, we run several businesses. We are naturally positioning ourselves in such a way where we can pivot, and we may be educating ourselves in such a way to be flexible. But people need to retrain, and I think that's the main thing. People just need to realize early enough, quick enough, that they just need to open their mind and train in other things as well, and be a little bit more flexible.
Kind of goes back to my point. I mean, how many people do you know that make wagon wheels anymore? You probably never remember anyone in your life that makes wagon wheels for wagons, have you? But you go back 100 years ago, guess what? They were everywhere. Or blacksmiths or whatever, and all those type things. So
you mean actual wagon wheels? I thought you meant the biscuit.
Not the biscuit, an actual wooden wagon wheel to go onto a wagon
absolutely.
that a horse would carry, and all these type of things. So we've already changed so many times already. But that same sort of thing, and that's kind of going back to my point, is, those things such as, I don't know, I'm not trying to scare anybody with this, but, AI will more than likely before too long put call centers out of business, period, because it's not really.
Yes and no. Certainly reduce it a great deal, because I mean, even nowadays you go onto the robot chats. You need to learn it, that the sooner you say none of these are your issues, then it puts you through to a person. The thing is, I genuinely believe
that'll all evolve. I'm talking about some time, but all my point is, look, I could be right or wrong about the call centers, but I'm just trying to make a point here. But let's just say that was the one thing that goes. There'll be other things as well. But if that's 100,000 people worldwide, why can't we take those 100,000 people and put them into care? Or something that would help humans, more than.
The point I was trying to make here is that I genuinely believe, it's something I learned in business studies some many, many years ago, that people buy from people. And people will continue to buy from people.
Absolutely.
So people will be necessary. Interaction will continue to be necessary. Although, we are in a different world. It's like right now I have a guest in my Airbnb room from Germany. His boy has been having
all these foreigners coming to our country. What's going on?
Online relationship with this girl who lives locally. Bless their little hearts. And yes, we are living in a different world, because the internet brings us so close, even when we are so far. For a year, they've been communicating online, and they've just met in person for the first time.
But that's normality now, isn't it?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure that distance relations. Well, I'm not sure. I know that there were distance relationships in the past. It's just in a different kind of format, and I think this is exactly the point we are making here, isn't it? That the world is changing. That's the only thing that's certain. I love a cliche. The only thing that's certain is a change. We need to recognize it and go with it. And so what other good routines have you got that enhance your business life?
I suppose the other thing I have is I keep an ideas book, which wasn't my idea, funny enough. That's,
for yourself?
Yeah, but
cool.
Yeah, for the business itself, myself and everything. But you know what, I tell you one thing before I get into that, is what I've learned is if I think something's a bad idea, it must be a good idea.
Okay, would you like to elaborate on that?
Sure, because I mean, it goes back through everything that I've done without repeating myself, but even the network itself, it wasn't my idea, and I thought it was a stupid idea. I did 25 years in the military, but I only did it because I was upset with my father at the time. I grew up thinking people that went in the military were brainless, and and all these things that I think
Happened in your life.
yeah, or like I'm not doing that. End up being the best at it anyway. My team. Who, by the way, I will say this. So I've got a team of advisors now, and you'll love this. I'm being a bit sexist by saying this, but I think you'll enjoy it. My entire team of advisory are all women, and I've never moved faster than having an advisory team of women, and it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, you have nothing to say about that, right?
No.
He's learned. But that team, they're the ones that have said, yep, you know what? Because they're basically momming me, and I do mean that in the right way, because what I do have, we do have to also acknowledge what we do well. And what I do well is think up stuff. And I mean, I'm the typical ideas person, but the problem is they're not always great ideas, like I just said.
Yeah.
Yep. But so you asked the question, what's helping me? Ideas book, just to write them all down, get it out of my head, and then review it every now and then. And some of them you look back and go, that was stupid. What was I thinking then? And some of them you think, we definitely have to do something with this.
Do you sometimes remember back what triggered the idea?
Yeah.
And then have a little giggle about it?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Because sometimes it'd be knee-jerk. Sometimes it'd be very, at the time, seem like, oh, yeah, this is going to be the best thing since. And then you look back and, well, and sometimes it's just tweaking it. It could be that it's still a good idea, but not necessarily the way I originally thought of it.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And I must admit that I have heard that idea. I think Richard Branson is the greatest advocate for always having a notebook in his back pocket kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that is something, I mean...
Or in voicemails, especially when you're driving, you think of an idea. I send myself messages all the time. I probably get more messages from me than anybody else in the world.
That's brilliant.
It's just, well, you got too much to think about, don't you? So
it's a classic thing. I always think of anything, when I go to the loo.
Yeah.
I never take my phone. Yeah. I'm actually kind of quite proud of it. That I feel that my life is not ruled by my phone, so I don't take the phone to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I'm missing out on this modern day technology to take notes of all the good things I'm thinking about.
Yeah. So maybe you get a notepad for the toilet.
Yeah, I suppose I could do that. Yeah, absolutely.
That way you're not doing phone's not really and the other one is, and I have to be careful how I do this, but I do it anyway because people have to take me out there. I'll see people and go, oh, I was thinking about you in the shower today. And of course people hear that different, but it's because you talk about ideas. For my brain works faster in the morning, so there's that.
Theoretically, all of our brain, yeah.
But some people are more night owls, in principle.
Yeah.
But obviously, mine. I shouldn't say obviously. Mine just seems to work faster more. And it's that getting up, doing the routine, and then going through my diary, as we already said. I said blah blah blah, and then got to get ready. It's when I get in that shower. I think it's just a combination of all that coming together. When I've got that quiet time and just in the shower, not that I take long showers, don't get me wrong, but just get loads of ideas or remember them.
But I think it links very closely to not having your phone in your hand, not having the computer open, not even having a notebook at hand. Yeah. Suddenly your mind can be free. And it links back to that little thing what you said earlier. And I think so far that's the greatest takeaway for me from your routine is actually booking those little times off in the middle of the day in between things and appreciating them and taking them as little rewards. Absolutely. Whatever, but then actively look after yourself to be fresh for the next activity. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I really love that.
Because I tell you what, thank you for that, first of all. And the second thing is I learned that by bad pattern because I was sometimes having 5 or 6 calls in a row. So 2 things about that. 1, it was wearing me out. Yeah. And 2, I actually wasn't being my best self for them. Because literally you're on a call going, I got to get on another call in 1 minute. Well, when you
so then what if you overrun and then you're late for the next one, then you feel like you haven't shown up?
I do have a good tip for you.
Yeah, go on.
This is from my female coach. When possible, don't take Zoom or whatever. It doesn't matter what format you use.
Yeah, like an online.
Don't take online calls talking to somebody. Use the telephone. And I tell you what makes the difference is because it's psychological. If you book in a 30-minute Zoom call or Teams or whatever, you watch yourself. You will use all 30 minutes normally, right up to around those 30 minutes, because it just feels like an official appointment. If you're just booking a phone call with somebody, you might be 5 minutes. You might be an hour if need be. But you know, I do block it in times in principle, don't get me wrong.
I would have thought that, you know, if you book in a half an hour call with someone, it's still going to be a half an hour call.
Try it. And the other thing good about it, doing a phone call instead of worrying about being online, what if your schedule changes? You need to drive somewhere. You need to take the dog for a walk or whatever. You can still do it. You can still do it.
Okay.
Take a phone call.
Interesting. Something to ponder on for certain.
Yeah, and it may not be for everybody.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and not necessarily for everybody, but maybe not for every appointment.
Yeah.
And then you can pick and choose your appointment.
Just try it.
Because occasionally having an email conversation drives me nuts. So I would rather have a quick call with someone, or I actually quite like this sort of, well, it's no longer a novelty, I suppose, but in a way it is a novelty. Well, I'm obviously over 50 kind of thing. I've worked in offices for 30 plus years and stuff. So doing meetings online is fairly new, only since COVID, really, in a great scheme of things. I quite like that face-to-face and not having to travel to someone's place and stuff. But I see what you mean, because a phone call is the same. You just dial a number and speak to someone, while on the computer, same, you dial up.
The biggest problem I've got is people are booking through my Calendly. And, of course, it sends out an email going, and I actually have it worded. It says, Brock takes his meetings on a phone call. Please dial this number at this time or provide your number.
And
then it sends a reminder, all those things. And then I'm waiting on the phone call, and then I find their number and call them instead. I'm trying to find the link.
Yeah, well, we're so used to it. I must admit, I'm guilty of these things, because Zoom links or whatever, Teams, and there's obviously like 3 different platforms at least. Every provider has got their own video connectivity, but finding the link is a pain of my life. So now I started putting a note into the appointment at the point of putting it in my calendar to say where I'm going to find the link.
Yeah. Oh, I do
Which
that.
email it
I
was.
do that as well, especially if someone sent you their link. I do that. I put in my calendar. It's on this link and I do that. But I do. It's just me. I prefer the phone calls now.
That's a really interesting point. And as you mentioned, that it's a mentor who told you that.
Yeah.
But so maybe try and pick and choose meetings to be more on the phone.
I'll tell you another one I do, just a tip, because I don't want to make this sound big-headed because it's not meant to be, but obviously you know what I do, and then therefore a lot of people get a hold of me. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've got people that always want to talk, or not necessarily talk, but want to connect on LinkedIn because of just, it's like perpetual, isn't it? Because there's so much going on anyway. So now I used to have it set to where, it's amazing for us, because I'm a firm believer that there's no sense in connecting on LinkedIn if we're never going to talk, because I'm not collecting stickers here. It's connecting, actually it needs to be something that's in it for both of us. So my thing that goes out now, it used to say, I'm so glad we connected on LinkedIn, please book a call. It doesn't say that anymore. Now it's a bit harsh, to be honest with you. It says, we've connected on LinkedIn. Here's what I do, and if you find value in this, let's make a call. Otherwise, let's please not be connected.
Oh, wow.
Because there's no point in being connected if we're not going to talk.
You're not collecting numbers.
Yeah. So, and I've only done that recently, and it's amazing, because it used to be that, say, out of every 10 or 15 connections, 5 to 10 would book a call. Now it's about 2 or 3, which is good. It helps us both out.
Yes. So you actually concentrating on the quality of connections rather than the quantity.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm still in that sort of growing stage where kind of collecting, but I do look. So if people are in the vicinity, so for example, for the network, because LinkedIn currently I use largely for the networking event that I run. But I do look, if people from all around the world want to connect in a sort of business area that I'm not particularly interested in, then I'm not collecting numbers.
No.
I want to send the invitation to people who are likely to turn up for the networking event, and will have a benefit from coming along. Yep. And same goes for Facebook. I don't know what I've done on Facebook, but suddenly I'm getting so many friends requests. that I can't, well, I don't even look at, to be honest. I just
Yeah.
don't have the time.
No.
And it's like, why is there an avalanche of them suddenly? What happened?
Don't know.
No idea.
I couldn't tell you because I don't look at Facebook that much.
There you go. My clients will be on Facebook, who are sort of people similar to me, and apparently our generation is still very much
True.
an active
True.
user of Facebook.
True.
So I will need to definitely increase my presence there. But what I was going to say, let's just loop back into our original topic, and if you'd like to talk a little bit more about the Elite Club.
I guess for people listening or watching that not know exactly what all we're talking about. So with your partnership being a typical networking platform, which predominantly was built for and is still there for startups, small SMEs, micro businesses, which is great. And that's exactly, we've never hidden the fact that that's what it's for. So we've been doing that going into our 8th year now. And like I said earlier, we're about to go into 18 counties. So which is all fine and wonderful. But over the years, we've seen larger or more mature businesses pop their head in for a while. Love what we're doing because, as you know, we're quite laid back in the way we do our events and everything. Not rocket science different from others, don't get me wrong. It's just slightly different. I suppose the one thing that does make it a bit different is all of our events are run by ambassadors, as you know.
Yes.
And as you also know, we don't give scripts or anything. So every single event can be different. We want it to be the personality of the person.
It is actually quite unique because you run networking events in pretty much every area of business.
Yeah.
I mean, just in Plymouth, there's a property one, there is a general one, there is a marketing one, there's a health and well-being one.
There's
whether
a new
they still
ladies
run.
one that's just started as well.
And then you collaborate with others. So there's the ladies' lunch or the professionals of Plymouth.
Yeah.
A bit of collaboration with other existing networking events.
Oh, we love collaboration.
And so on and so on. And then the big lunch, the connector event. And they're all offering something a little bit different.
Yep, they are.
So you can find your own tribe, or you can go to all of them, or just one or two of them. So I think your partnerships is really quite different.
It's a bit different. And the one thing that I would, I'm glad you mentioned about the collaboration because we love collaboration. And what does worry me is I will every now and then run across a network that doesn't want to collaborate. And that's a warning sign to me because if they don't want to collaborate, then that means they're in it just for their own silo little, I guess you get empire building, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that bothers me because that's somebody that just, it's about them.
Selfish.
Yeah, and it's about them, not about us, if that makes sense.
It's giving out the wrong vibe, isn't
Exactly. So we had the network obviously still going and growing strong. I get asked all the time, what's the plans, where it's going to grow? We've always did about the same thing. We're not worried about where or where's next. We just look for the next right people. If it's the right people, then it'll do the right things.
And the right people will come out of the woodwork, just
And
like.
they do.
And I'm pretty sure that the whole network, and going into what you just mentioned, 18 counties now, that's massive. That's humongous. Because people have come along to a networking event and love the format so much that they are offering to be ambassadors. Is that not right?
That's right. That's right. That's how it works.
There
and
you
of course,
go.
that helps build their profiles and all that. But anyway, back to the Elite Club, the question.
Yes, go on.
So mature businesses pop their head in, really love what we're doing. But to be quite frank, they go, well, there's not, we run a business with, 250 employees and this and that and everything. And there's not really the people we need to connect with. I mean, there are big businesses in your partnership that have products and services for smaller business.
Small ones, yeah.
And that's quite nice and that works very well. But there's others that just don't need those products or services or don't perceive they need them. We all need each other. We know that, but they may not perceive that. So we started the Elite Club a little over a year ago now. And so Elite Club in principle, as it says, is for $1 million+ turnover and also products and services that can work with $1 million+ turnover. The best way to put it, because we did quite a bit of study before launching,
Okay.
the actual, it wouldn't surprise you to hear this, that about 80% of all networks of the larger size business are inside the M25, which makes sense. It's London there, and a lot of them are very old networks. You've got your Mayfair Club, you've got Park Lane, you've got ones that are these you're talking about 10 billion turnovers and 10 million that kind of club stuff. And you got to wait for somebody to die to get up. And I'm not knocking those; those are great. They do what they're there for.
They've got their own place.
Yeah, they've got their own place. But what there isn't much of is in between those two. So you got all your networks like what your partnerships does and BNIs and every other network in the world that you want to talk about. But there's not there's very rare many that are in between the really super, as we just said, and that. And there's definitely none that cover the entire UK to go and have opportunities in different areas. There are a few that are industry specific. There's a really great, strong tech one that does it. There's quite a few property and investment ones that do some of this stuff, but nobody that covers like anything and everything. Okay.
Like general business,
Yes. So the entire goal with the Elite Club is as simple as this. So right now I'm up to 9. I've got myself up to 9 now. So it's not just me. There are 9 of us. So I've got 3, 1 current BNI area leader, 2 ex BNI area leaders, 1 BITA leader, and then 4 other private networks and myself that we're working together to where what I want eventually is about 30 of what I'd call people with good black books.
Okay.
That we all do 2 or 3 events per year. And therefore...
But each and every one of you do 2 or 3 events? Each and every would just do 2 or 3. So the 30 people would be spread around the country?
Around the country.
I see what you mean.
So it's like 90 events over a year, which is plenty, yep. And therefore, there's enough opportunities. So the site's being built right now. Therefore, eventually... And by the way, Elite Club's invite only, rather than just being out there. So therefore, eventually, people that want to get into the Elite Club, they'll log in with their private code. They'll look at the map. There might be 5, 6, 7, 8 when it gets to that number. 5 or 6, 7 or 8 per month, and it might be, and they go when they want to go. They may go 2 or 3 times a year. They may go every month. It's up to them. They would look around and go, I'm going to go one in Manchester this month, and then 3 months later I'm going to go one in London. Next month I might go to one in Cornwall, Plymouth, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever they want to do. Because 2 things about Elite Club is, one, there's no required membership whatsoever, okay?
I was going to ask that. So is it going to be an additional membership, or you have to be a Your Partnerships member? Not even that? Not even that. No, there's no required membership whatsoever. There is a membership which we've just launched, but the membership is for 2 things. One, and I always say it like it is, it's more about prestige than need. Because on the site itself, they'll have an icon. I'm an official member, and that's great, and that's wonderful for those that want to have that. But then they'll also get discounted. They'll get discounted tickets. So in principle, if they win enough over a year, they could either break even on their membership or even save themselves some money. But it's more about prestige than actual need. And it's once again, it's up for people to decide, which way they want to use the network. Simple as that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, there's a few other things that go with it because anytime we have an Elite Club meeting, anybody that is an official member will get they'll get recognized in the room as, our members for this meeting are blah, 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 X, Y, Z. And then a few other things where we'll do shout outs from on social media, obviously when they become a member, stuff like that. But it's little bits. It's not, and I'm not 100% listen. Make sure you hear me right. I'm not looking to build a huge membership for Elite. My goal of it is not that. My goal of it is to build like YP in principle, but for that next level, and allow more people to get together. Because here's the best joy out of all of it. Because Elite Club member events, by the way, are much smaller. Okay, so Elite Club will be normally from about 12 to 24 people maximum, because we want good quality time to make sure they're getting that right connections. With Elite Club, everybody gets a bio who's going to be there. We do follow-up calls afterwards to make sure how they got on and everything else. But what's really cool about it, because we get to know them quite well, we're able to find out what they need. And guess what? When they have needs from the network,
then you can reach into the network. So this is how you kind of create a link in between the 2.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like you've got it thought through really, really well.
And guess what?
Yeah.
It wasn't my idea. And I thought it was a bad idea.
Oh, my God.
There's a pattern here, isn't there?
Yeah, well, you just need to go with it.
And the reason I didn't like the idea is because I just want everybody to be happy and work together. It's because I don't really like levels.
I think it's kind of a natural thing, because a company with, 100 employees and turning over X amount.
Started last week, yeah.
Exactly, because as you say, in the Your Partnerships network, I imagine, having been to quite a few of them, that a minimum 50% of members are sole traders.
Yep, absolutely.
Very, very
Absolutely.
different. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them might make a decent amount of money,
Yeah.
but still, when you're a sole trader, you're in a very different position, different world to a company director who manages 30, 100, 200 people.
One of the things that we're doing in Elite Club now that's working very, very well is we have once a quarter in different areas what we call the Director and CEO's Roundtable. So it's a private space, Chatham House rules, so that people can get in and actually talk about what's happening in their business, good and bad and ugly.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and it gives them the only problem.
You are creating a mastermind.
In principle, yes.
But in reality,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is.
If those people are on par in terms of roughly the size or the turnover of their business, and they're all business leaders, then that is very much a mastermind group, indeed.
It is. And it's amazing what they do, and they help each other, and they stay in touch, and they work on problems and solutions together. And the only problem we've had with it is I've started out with, because you don't like to take busy people's time too much. So I started them off at 2.5 hours. We're going to have to increase it to 4. We just run out of time.
Well, with 12 people, if you break it down, we give everybody 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That in itself is about, hour and a half-ish, 2 hours.
Well, the way we do it is it's just quick introductions, but then we tell them beforehand, come to the room with something you want to work on or talk about.
Yeah.
So and each one's different. Like the first one we had over half the room want to talk about exit plan. So obviously we spent most of that time talking about exit plan, different types of exit plans, what people, and all these type things. Whereas the next one, it was very varied. There was only like 2 people wanting to work on the same thing. So we had to cover a lot of subjects.
How much do you get involved with that discussion, or you just facilitate the
I'm
meeting?
more facilitating.
Because what I'm thinking about now as a sort of follow-up, that when these people come up with what they need to do, would they then come back to you and say, these are the things we identified as our needs? Do you have people in your network who would come and help us? So I've met a couple of people in the network who sell businesses.
Yep.
So if you talk about exit plan, then you will know.
We facilitate that, yes. And there's a couple of things. There's that. Plus we take notes during it. We give them the homework of letting us know what you're doing about these things, and give them a few days to answer back. They don't all answer back, but it's their business, their time. And then 1 week after we've had the meeting, we have one Zoom meeting for 1 hour to see where people are. You know what? You might get half of them, you might not. It's totally. But then, of course, we can't keep going on because.
So isn't that too quick? Because people would need a little time. I get you need the follow-up to keep the momentum going, but then wouldn't you need to give people some time to actually start implementing those steps?
Well, it's more about just making sure they're starting the steps. It's not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, if people have implemented, that's amazing as well. But it's really just keeping the momentum going,
and then
the next meeting a month and a half from then anyway. So they've got
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So it's and of course every meeting might be a few different people as well. So it just depends on who.
It sounds pretty amazing.
It's still newish, so it's developing. Let's have a call in a year and it'll probably be completely different.
Yeah. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of fun. And the one thing I suppose that's really interesting as well is. We're finding it, which you wouldn't, this isn't rocket science, we're finding things like that and other events that we do to be so varied depending on what part of the country you're in. Because obviously you get different size business, different makeup, and of course different people, different personalities depending on where you are in the country as well. So it is interesting.
When people are from a similar area, are the responses kind of reflecting of each other?
It is, but it's just even like, I guess the best example is if we do something in, say, London or that kind of area, these type of events fill up really fast. Whereas in down southwest or Wales or something like that, it takes a lot more time to fill this up. But it's just percentage of businesses that are of that size, isn't it? Because when you're talking elite, it's just it's no big deal. Which goes back to my original point that most of those things are inside the M25 because it's the concentration of those businesses. But as we move into the Midlands, I'm sure it'll change again a little bit more. And hey, Birmingham and Manchester, there are tons of great businesses in those areas. So
that's fantastic. You don't seem like a person who wants to retire at all.
What? Did you use that R word in my presence?
Seem to be, if anything, going strong. But would you start yet another business?
Of course.
Would you have any ideas in the back of your mind?
Probably check my ideas book, and there might be some already.
Or check my bad ideas book.
Yeah. Make sure it's a bad idea, then it'll be good.
Then it will be good. That's brilliant. I love that. Absolutely love that.
But no, I mean, it's not just me. I'm sure you run across all the time. But there's so many. It's entrepreneur brain, isn't it? It's the difference between a job and an entrepreneur. I mean, it's you know what it is. If you ask an entrepreneur, especially a busy entrepreneur, do you want to retire? That's like asking little Johnny or Sally, do you want to come in from playing?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, absolutely. And so I must admit, I'm finding that with my interviewees that not a single one of them has mentioned that they were just like, no, is the answer to the question. Would you want to retire? So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I normally say quite often I don't like using the R word. Some people say the F word. I call that the R word.
The R word. Cool. Right. So my last question to you today is, and you are probably a good person to ask this one. Can you think of anyone, or many one, who fits the bill, who started a new business over 50, who would be an interesting person to have on the couch for this podcast?
Oh, absolutely. There'll be the best way to answer that is I'll send you a list. Is about the best thing to say. And a little question for you back though is,
go on.
What if they're quite mature, but they've been running their business? But every business changes over time. But I'm thinking of a few right now that have been doing different things. They probably have changed. But I do know, because you said earlier in the 80s and all, I do know some.
Oh, wow. 80s, I would be delighted to have people more advanced, because so far the eldest person I interviewed is 71 and she looks about 20 years younger because she's absolutely flourishing in her new business. So yeah, the older the better, because what I would like to put across is that, of course, age is just a number.
It is.
And I would like to pass on that enthusiasm. My aim is to put it across to people, whoever is still nurturing a kind of dream, even if they are in corporate, if they are working for someone, but they're nurturing a dream that they would want to start a business. I would like people to hear other people's enthusiastic stories and just give them the encouragement to go for it. It is never too late.
The only day it's too late is when they're digging the hole. What about a little homework for you if you don't know the answer to this? Do you know who Grandma Moses is?
Grandma Moses?
Yeah.
No.
It's a little homework for you and your listening audience. I'm not going to tell you.
Grandma Moses.
Yeah, you look it up later. You'll be amazed.
Thank you for that.
No
I
problem.
will do.
No problem.
And on that little homework, thank you ever so much for joining me on the sofa.
Pleasure.
It's been a delightful conversation.
Oh, it's been wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
If you ever doubted that kindness and collaboration could build a business, Brock is definitely a living proof. Please check out your partnerships and see how being part of something good can grow into something great. Networking events are popping up in more and more areas of the country, so go, find your tribe. If you would like to know more about building a great overall health routine, then please get in touch with me. All of our contact details are in the show notes, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for tuning into New Business in Later Life, and see you again next week.